Oh yeah, what's up everyone? Happy Friday. Welcome to another episode of the SEO Video Show. Today we'll be talking about prompt engineering, experience and expertise for EEAT with our very special guest today, Christopher S. Penn of Trust Insights. This is going to be a good one, guys. If you've been watching the show for some time, you should be seeing a lot of Chris's clips on the SEO Video Show. Be sure to get your shouts out. Let me know how you're doing. Oh yeah, my man, Stefan, how you doing, brother? Today we'll be talking about prompt engineering for SEO, experience and expertise for EEAT with a very special guest today, Christopher S. Penn, the Chief Data Scientist at Trust Insights. If you guys haven't received your copy of the SEO in 2023 book, I still have a few more left. If you're in the US, email me at dre@seo.video and I will send you a copy. Got the Stream Elements bot running. I need to figure out how I can remove that bot. Oh yeah. What up, Dre? What up, peeps? Time for a Guinness. Ooh, you like that dark beer, huh? Jeremy, what's up, my man? All right, guys, we got about 7 more minutes to go. Today we'll be talking about prompt engineering for SEO. Last week we spoke to Jordan Cooney, who mentioned like, hey, prompt engineering should be part of our SEO skill set with all the AI coming around. So I have a AI machine learning specialist, expert on today, Christopher S. Penn of Trust Insights. If you guys haven't subscribed to the show, please do so. I'm about to hit 5,000 subscribers. I think I just need like 5 or 6 more of you guys to subscribe. If I can get 5 to 6, 7 of you guys to subscribe, I'll hit my 5,000 mark. If you have any extra YouTube accounts, sub to my channel and help me get over 5,000. Lucy Shaw, how's it going, fellas? TGIF. All right, I see Chris in the background. Chris, can you hear me okay?
I can.
All right, love it, love it. Okay, I can hear you just fine. Let me see here. Everything looks good. You're centered. And so what I do is in the very, very beginning, I kind of go over a few videos I found over the YouTubes and I share them a little bit. And then by 8 minutes after, I'll introduce you right in.
Sounds good.
All right. All right, guys. Chris just joined the back. Be sure to get your shouts out. Happy Friday, y'all. Today we'll be talking about prompt engineering for SEO, and experience and expertise for EEAT with our very special guest today, Christopher S. Penn of Trust Insights. Hannah Becker, hi Chris and Paul from Seattle, Washington. We got less than 4 minutes to go. Be sure to get your shout outs, get your questions ready. If you have any questions about prompt engineering, experience and expertise for EAT, you got the expert on. Yo, 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 Ernesto. Victor, what's up, Dre and Chris? Carol, hi Paul, good afternoon. All right, guys, we got 3 more minutes to go. Again, we'll be talking about prompt engineering for SEO and experience and expertise in EEAT with a very special guest today, Christopher S. Penn of Trust Insights. I still have a few more copies of the SEO in 2023 book. If you would like a copy, if you are in the US, please email me your mailing address at dre@seo.video and I will send you a copy. Chris, where are you located?
Boston, Massachusetts.
Oh, you're on the East Coast time, so it's like about 3 o'clock, about 3 o'clock over there.
Yeah, it's almost closing time.
I bet you it's cold. It has to be really cold. If it's cold here in the Bay Area, it must be even more cold out there.
Strangely, it's colder out where you are than it is here.
Wow.
You all have a blizzard warning. We don't.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if there's another city I would live in, Boston would be my top 3. I think San Diego would be my second if I wasn't here in the Bay Area. It's a beautiful city. We got Starships. Happy Friday. Thank you all for coming today. Happy Friday, y'all. Robert Lee, happy Friday. All right, guys, we got less than a minute to go, so I'm going to go ahead and start toning down the music and getting things ready here. And be sure to like and subscribe and help me get over 5,000 subscribers. I just need about 5 of you more to go. All right, guys. Jeremy, don't jinx me. All right, guys.
Yeah. Hey, time to get it started, no delay, let's work. Wanna see you be an SEO expert. Paul Andre De Vera, steady dropping knowledge. Over 15 years in the game, so he knows all about it. Master the art of SEO, you will be amazed. Time to get your brand off page to on page. Dropping knowledge, legendary for sure. Whether you're just getting started or self-employed entrepreneur. Yeah, let's go. Subscribe to the SEO video show. Hey,
hey, welcome to another episode of the SEO Video Show, where SEO is alive and fun. My name is Paul Andre de Vera, aka Dre, and I curate SEO videos released in the past week into about 1 minute clips. My favorite part of the show is when I get to introduce my guest, and my guest this week is the one and only head of Trust Insights, the founder of Trust Insights, Christopher S. Penn. Before we get started, let's say what's up to everyone in chat. I see Jeremy, Robert, Starships, Ernesto, Hannah, Kobe, Lucy, Jeremy again, Stefan. Welcome everyone. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I got about a few more subscribers to go to get 5,000. All right, guys. Now let's get on with the show.
Hey Dre, why do they call it the Mini Panda Update? Because it finds content that's a little bear. Oh!
Let's get started with the latest from Google News. Google says you don't have to host a favicon in the same domain to be eligible for a favicon in Google search results. Another new piece of news is Google clarified that Discover actually uses many of the same signals as search. You can check that out in the Discover documentation and the helpful content system page. Does the depth of the category negatively affect rankings? Ted Kubaitis shares his thoughts on the SEO Fight Club this past week. Let's check it out.
That category depth is a negative factor? Yes, I do. Because your homepage tends to have the bulk of your backlinks. So most of your authority is on the homepage. And in my opinion, it feels like you lose about a third of your authority with every layer of linking. So when you have a heavily nested link structure on your web page, below a certain depth, you're not getting any authority boost from the homepage, which is why we can outrank Yelp and Amazon so easily. We don't fear Yelp and Amazon product pages because they are so distant in their category structure from the homepage, is they are just weak, easy pages to beat.
For more of the important pages on my site, I like adding them nested under categories in my navigation or by adding plain HTML links in the footer. Okay, this week's tip on local SEO comes from William and Chris on how to responsibly rank your Google business profile. Let's check this one out.
In GMB, if I want to rank for different location keywords, should I create different landing pages in my website or not?
If you want to get there fast, like in shorter than 6 months, then I would split it up. If it's going to be a long-term branding play, you don't want to spend as much money and you can give it some time, you'll do better in the long run by keeping it on one. If you want to move fast and you want to win fast, then one page, single websites do perform better.
So basically, if you want to be a brand that everybody knows and you're going to be patient and you're going to wait for anywhere from 6 months, a year, 2 years, and build an actual business and an actual brand, and then you should probably do it long term, all of them on one website, but then think you're going to be doing it long term. Don't be trying to get leads within days or months even. So
8 to 12 months.
If your company has multiple office locations, claim the Google Business Profile for each area and maximize your page one real estate. I mean, I like to say ranking on page one is awesome, but owning more pixels on page one is even better. Okay, I begin my SEO strategy with audience research and understanding my buyer personas. John Lincoln shares his strategy on how to build data-driven personas this past week on Ignite Visibility. Let's check this one out.
When you're creating an actual data-driven persona is to gather the conversion data from all the most important areas around the web. So specifically, look at Google Analytics conversion data. Who has converted the most on your website when you look at the demographic reports, when you look at the technology reports, when you look at the different channel reports, when you look at the Google Analytic benchmark reports? That's going to give you a really good idea of who your customer is and who's converting on your website. You can use that to create your personas. Item number 2, look at the platform level data. So when you go inside of Meta, for example, what demographics do they give you on your highest converters? You're going to want to extrapolate that data as well and use that to create your personas. Finally, it's a good idea to look at Google Trends. And when you're in there, look at the breakout terms report. This is going to show you all the latest things that your specific person is searching for around the top keywords. It's also going to show you what keywords are going up and what keywords are going down. This is going to give you some really great insight into your personas.
A book I recommend to learn more about buyer personas is Buyer Personas by Adele Rivella. Be sure to check this one out. Okay, Lily Ray was on the Sage Media's channel this past week sharing her thoughts on incorporating AI content generation into your SEO strategy. Let's check this one out.
You have to use it responsibly. You have to not just rely on it to mass auto-generate content for SEO, which I think is probably a gray area that a lot of people will find themselves in. You know, like once they figure out how to scale something like ChatGPT, it's easy to be lazy and just kind of like rely on that. And with Google's helpful content algorithms, that's against their guidelines, right? Like that's against their best practices. So it's a gray area. And my favorite part of the article that I think is like the ultimate checkmate for site owners was we encourage site owners to think about EEAT, including putting author names on the content whenever possible. We also would encourage you to be very transparent with your users if you're using AI. And we don't think it's a good idea to name the author as AI. Like AI is not a person. So they just created this like checkmate situation where you should be putting real authors' names or expert names. And those experts and authors now have their names potentially tied to AI content creation, which I don't know about you, I wouldn't want that for myself. And
I would not.
This brings me to my favorite part of the show. Our guest today will cover prompt engineering experience and expertise. Please ask questions on topic and I will address them in the order that they were received. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell while I get things ready. Christopher is an authority on analytics, digital marketing, marketing technology, data science, and machine learning. He's a recognized thought leader and best-selling author and keynote speaker in Google Analytics, data-driven marketing in PR, modern email marketing, marketing data science, and AI in marketing. He's a 2021 four-time IBM champion in IBM Analytics, a Brand 24 Top 100 digital marketer, and Analytica Top 100 AI marketing influencer, and the co-host of award-winning Marketing Over Coffee podcast. His work has served brands such as Twitter, T-Mobile, Citrix Systems, GoDaddy, AAA, McDonald's, and many others. Please welcome the co-founder and chief data scientist of Trust Insights, Christopher S. Penn. Chris, my man, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I applaud all of the intro work that you did there.
Everyone, let's give a round of applause, Chris. All right, Chris. I don't know if you know this, but I've been following you for years now. I saw you live at, I think, a demand-based conference. You're a demand-based speaker, right? So I remember attending one of those maybe over 6-7 years ago when I was still in corporate marketing. And one of the things I've always do, like my people here on the show are pretty familiar with you because I share a lot of your clips. You put out so much great information, and I would just want to thank you for putting all that information out for us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. So this is the first question I ask all my SEO professionals that come on here in 1 minute or less. How does Chris get ranking on page 1 of Google?
The same way anybody does. You create useful content that's unique and authoritative and timely. I mean, that's, if you read the search quality rating guidelines, you know, that is not the Google algorithm. That is the method for developing part of the training data for the Google algorithm. So if you adhere to what it's being trained on, you'll do better.
Love it. First knowledge bomb of today. Hold on. Let's rewind this real quick. Chris, take us way back in time. When was the first time you got into SEO?
The first time I got into SEO was 2003, actually working at a credit union data processor and then moving over into financial services. And at that point, it was a new startup company, and we were still trying to wrap our heads around getting ranked for stuff. Now, the founder at the time had done a bunch of really smart things and bought some exact match domain names very, very early on, and that entire company went from a $200,000 a year company to a $6 million company in 3 years because it was it was compliant with what Google was doing at the time.
Wow. All right. So let's say, what part of SEO actually made you interested in it?
For SEO, learning what people are looking for. There's that great book, Everybody Lies, I think is the essence of what makes search an interesting profession, an interesting field, is knowing what people will type into a search engine they would never dare ask another living human being. And now, of course, with large language models, the things that people will ask a large language model, they would not say to another living human out of shame or maybe their perception of their reputation. But it's fascinating what we will confess to a non-living machine.
Love it. Okay, so when when you were back in 2003 and you had someone buying exact match domains, I mean, how'd you actually learn it? I mean, were you following anyone? Did you have your own site? Like, what were your processes of learning SEO?
I was responsible as originally the technical person at the company for 44 different websites. So you learn real fast what worked and what didn't. This was back in the days when you could hook into, for example, Wikipedia's RSS feed back when it had one, and you could make an exact copy of Wikipedia that was dynamically generated so that you could pull a lot of traffic, for it back then. The early days of SEO were almost entirely black hat. When you think about 2003, like 2007, 2008, it was all just as many gimmicks as you could throw at the systems just to attract traffic. And back then it worked. Obviously, many of those tactics are not only ineffective, but profoundly harmful now. So certainly would not recommend people do similar things. But that was kind of the fun of it, was to figure out, well, what will work, and it's all experimentation.
Yep.
And as we have evolved now into today's search algorithms, which are massive black boxes of deep learning machines, there is no way to know. Because even Google does not know how its search algorithm works. There's no one person at Google who can tell you how Google works, because the neural network models underneath the search interface are so vast and have no explainability. You don't know. That's what always kind of makes me wonder when I see people authoritatively saying, like, this is what will get you ranking. Like, how do you know? You have no empirical way of proving that unless you've done very large scale, like propensity score matching on, tons and tons of data. You don't know how Google works because Google doesn't know how Google works.
Man, dropping that knowledge bomb right there. Love that. Okay, so I want to go into our topic of today. I mean, I've been sharing a bunch of your content. Like, I swear your videos are being reshared on the show here, like at least 2 or 3 times a month. And I only have 4 shows a month. So I mean, a lot of people know who you are on the show, and I'm so happy to finally have you on here. So today I want to actually talk about prompt engineering. Last week's guest actually talked about SEOs should start developing new skills, and prompt engineering was kind of one of them. I mean, with all the AIs coming about, learning how prompts work and bringing out the prompt engineering, it's something that we should learn. So I would love to. It's perfect timing to have you on, because I'm curious, what is prompt engineering? Can you and how does it relate to machine learning and AI?
So prompt engineering, writing prompts to a model like Instruct GPT or GPT-3. Folks who are non-technical know these by their more common names, like Chat GPT is the interface to the Instruct GPT model. A prompt is essentially what you do to ask it to do something. Like it's your interface to it. If you use Stable Diffusion or DALL-E 2, the prompts there to generate images are just natural language. And prompt engineering is the art and sort of science of getting the machines to do what you want them to do in reliable, repeatable ways. Mm-hmm. The reason it's such a hot topic right now, and the reason why there's still a lot of confusion about it, is because if you don't understand how the underlying model works, the prompts you write are not going to be effective. They're going to be, random, unpredictable, sometimes a little confusing. Mm-hmm. As opposed to if you are good at structuring prompts to these language models, you can get good results every single time. And a lot of people are using these models for generation. To make content. They're good at that. They're good at that. That's not what they're great at. These models are based on an architecture called a transformer. Nothing to do with the awesome 80s toys. Mm-hmm. Transformers essentially take a vast amount of text, encode that text, do a couple different types of engineering on the text, and then create massive statistical probability matrices. This is dramatically oversimplifying the transform architecture, to generate and create stuff, which means that if you have stuff going into it that's already good, it can make it better. These transformer models like ChatGPT are better at refining something than they are making something net new.
Ooh.
Excellent.
Love that. Love that. Okay, so let's take this a little bit further. So, I mean, how can we use this prompt engineering to be applied to SEO? I mean, you kind of mentioned content and stuff like that. So, like, what are some ways that we can, utilize this to benefit our SEO strategy?
Here's the challenge with where a lot of people are using these technologies not well, right? They will say, let's write a 500-word blog post about the best coffee maker under $50, something like that. They'll create content, and these things, because of the way large language models work, they're trained on massive amounts of text, and so they will essentially regurgitate the most frequently associated words, phrases, paragraphs, concepts, etc. around those things, which means you're getting above average to average content in return. One of the most damning things in the search quality rating guidelines that Google publishes is medium quality content. It says medium quality content. It falls into the category of nothing wrong, but nothing special. And that is medium quality. And if you want, there's two grades about that. It's high quality content and highest quality content. Medium is essentially what a large language model will spit out without a lot of extra stuff going into it to create something that's more unique. The smartest thing you can do with a large language model for SEO purposes is to take this lovely device that we all have, right? Talk to a subject matter expert. 15 minutes, 30 minutes, just record like this episode, get it transcribed, and then feed that into a large language model and say correct for grammar, spelling, syntax, punctuation, and readability, etc. And what it will do is it will take those unique thoughts, those unique words and structures, rewrite them to be more of like an article and less like an interview. And now you have original content with original thoughts from a subject matter expert. And the machine is just helping you clean it up for readability. But that's how you can use these models to generate that unique content that search engines are looking for, and not the same mass-produced dreck that any intern who's been given a prompt engineering cheat sheet is going to crank out for a company.
Love that. Love that. So, I mean, when you say like inputting like your like a transcription of like this video, for example, into a language model, do you mean just like copying pasting into ChatGPT, or is there something else is there another tool or something that we would use that ChatGPT would pull this from?
Well, right now, if you want to use ChatGPT, you have to copy and paste it. If you have a bit more technical skill, you can use the GPT-3 model itself with the OpenAI's API. They have an API, so if you're skilled at coding, you can take large quantities of text and funnel it in and parse it and stuff like that. So, for example, I wrote a tool that takes keyword lists from Ahrefs, one of my favorite SEO tools, and matches that to the trend data from Google Trends, right, to essentially get keyword volumes and trends. And then I use a predictive analytics algorithm to forecast forward 52 weeks and say, when is this keyword next going to trend? Based on the past 5 years of data. And then I take that keyword and the combinations of keywords that trend with it, and I feed that to OpenAI's GPT-3 through their API. I say, write me headlines that incorporate 2 or 3 combinations of these different keywords, so that I have unique headlines based on the keywords that are going to be timed when they trend, so that my content is timely.
Oh, man, I'm speechless on that one. You deserve another. Oh man. Okay, so I mean, is that tool available for anyone to use, or is that just for you and your clients?
It's for us and our clients, because there's a fair amount of ugly glue. Now, it's entirely possible that at some point we will have to engineer an interface for it, but right now it is literally a command line.
Oh, love it. Love it. Okay. So, I mean, right now, so we think about we're talking about like grabbing like this large data and, and doing what you're doing. Are there any other pieces of data that we should collect to have more effective prompts?
So it's not data that you're collecting for effective prompts. There was a paper back in 1957 called The Synopsis of Linguistic Theory by a linguist named John Rupert Firth, who said one sentence in that paper that has formed the basis of all natural language processing theory for 70 years. He said, "You shall know a word by the company it keeps. You shall know a word by the company it keeps." This is actually coming out my newsletter this Sunday, so you'll be able to see the whole explanation. But this concept means that if you are creating prompts that contain insufficient numbers of relevant words, you're going to get irrelevant or low quality results, right? If I put, write a post about an SEO video show, it's going to give me pretty mediocre stuff. If I say, write a post about an SEO video show with the understanding of vectorization, embedding, and neural networks applied with natural language processing, it's going to give me a much more specific post because I'm using words and phrases that funnel the attention of these models towards very specific subtopics. And these large language models can understand from all the text they've ingested, a lot of very arcane little subjects, but you got to know to ask for it. Here's a brain hack. Prompt engineering is a lot like SEO, right? So think of it as a prompt optimization. What keywords would you use if you were doing regular SEO to get a search engine to recognize a page? Use that same thought process for writing a prompt. What keywords, what jargon would go in a prompt that would tell a search engine this is about this? Put that in your prompt and you're going to get much, much better results out of any of these large language models.
Man, you're dropping so many knowledge bombs today. Oh my God, I love it, Chris. Man, you're killing it. Okay, so I mean, for the last question on prompt engineering before we go into expertise and experience, I mean, let's talk about how do you envision prompt engineering and SEO evolving over the next few years? I mean, what kind of technologies you probably see emerging? I mean, I know right now it's just a lot of this content, written content, but a lot of us are talking about visual search is becoming better. How do you see, envision prompt engineering for the future of SEO and prompts? AI.
So it will start to go away. And the reason for this is that prompt engineering and the skill that you need to use it is because we are all working with essentially the vanilla, massive models, the GPT-3 models and things. With all these models, if you have sufficient technical skill or deep enough pockets, you can do what's called fine tuning, where you take, say, your content and you retrain part of the model to say, I want you to incorporate this bias to make your output sound more like me, to cover more of the topics that I cover, etc. So you could have a Paul Andre specific model that then the prompts you have to provide are much smaller, right? You could say, write a piece on video SEO. And because you've already pre-trained it and tuned it on all of your existing content, it's going to require much less effort for you to be able to generate good results from your personal model. And so this is already being done by, the Fortune 10, the Fortune 50 companies, the folks who could say, yeah, let's put a few $1 million towards this. And so there'll sort of be these sort of different tiers, if you will. So there's the people who have deep pockets who can build customized models. And then there's, the prompt engineering crowd, which would be for the rest of us who don't have super deep pockets, who have to work with the vanilla models. Where this is going and where this is going to impact SEO is not a pretty picture. The pretty picture, the ugly picture is this: your unbranded search traffic is going away, right? Your unbranded search traffic is going to drop precipitously in the next 6 to 12 months. And here's why. Look at what Bing plus ChatGPT's interface looks like. Look at what Bard is returning. Now, granted, Bard screwed up pretty badly on its first rodeo, but look at the results. The results they look like ChatGPT, right? Good amounts of text, informative things like that, and tiny little citation links saying, check this out or learn more stuff at the very bottom, right? How many people click on the footnotes on a Wikipedia article, right? Not a whole lot. How many people are going to click on those little citations instead of just nodding at the result they get and say, that sounds good, I'm going to go off and do my thing. So if someone's typing in, what is SEO? They're going to get a response, and they're not going to bother going to learn more if they just wanted a quick answer, right? For people who've used ChatGPT, think about your own behavior in the application. How many times you've said, "Huh, that's interesting. I'm going to go Google that," or how many times you've just gone, okay, that was cool. I got what I wanted. Now I move along. My belief, based on the way that search engines are rolling these things out, is that this is going to eat unbranded search alive. It's going to devour the traffic. Now, the defense mechanism for us as marketers is we have got to get really good at brand, really good at brand, so that people will Google Paul Andre. People will Google Trust Insights. People will Google something by name, and the search models will be like, okay, well, you clearly want to go here, so here's just the URL, right? But that's where I see the stuff going from an SEO impact. So if you go into your web analytics and you look at your search traffic, and more than 50% of your search traffic is unbranded, you better have a backup plan real fast.
Love that. So, I mean, I'm curious then, like, what would you think how can we optimize for chats? Like, let's say Bard or, the ChatGPT within Bing. Like, how can we optimize to get shown as an answer in those chats? From what we can tell, it's the exact same mechanism that you have right now for crawl, index, rank. Yeah. Google telegraphed this a couple of years ago when they were talking about MUM, the multitask unified model. Right. They were saying that what they've done is they're trying to migrate away from crawl, index, rank to large model that returns answers, and then they just tune the model, every so often. And there's a couple different tuning mechanisms because obviously they want to be timely. They don't want to give out stale answers, so there will always be a temporal component to it, but it's essentially the same thing. You've got to have the text accessible to train it, but I would spend a lot of time building answers and content that has your brand interwoven in it very heavily, so that your brand, remember, a word is known by the company it keeps, right? So if you are putting and your text is out there, it's feeding these models, and your name is associated with some of these terms, particularly if there's brand terms that you can own, you will do slightly better. That said, we know for sure that the one thing you're going to be able to do is advertise. So that's not going away. So if all else fails, make sure you've got a good PPC budget. Love it. This kind of rolls into our second topic of today, which is experience and expertise, right? Because you said, like, when we want to like roll things, we should include ourselves and experience and include ourselves within content. I would like to talk about experience and expertise. Your newsletter. Actually, let's tell everyone about your newsletter, because a lot of this stuff that we're talking about now is published every week on. Is it the Trust? You just go to trustinsights.com.
So for my personal newsletter is ChristopherSPenn.com. The Trust Insights newsletter, which is at trustinsights.ai. The column that you're referring to on expertise versus experience was in my personal newsletter. But I encourage you to subscribe to both.
There you go. Okay. All right. So let's talk about experience and expertise. That they added a new E within the EEAT, and some people are like, so I mean, what's the difference? And isn't someone like a expert when they have experience? I mean, how do you distinguish between experience and expertise?
So this is a difference between what and why, right? When you have an experience, your experience is a valid experience, right? If I give you a piece of sushi and you don't like it, that's your experience, right? Mm-hmm. My expertise says that even though you didn't like it, it was still a well done piece of sushi, right? It was still fresh. It was made with there was a good cut used. It was free of parasites, things like that. So there's that difference in the search quality rating guidelines, which is where this distinction is made. They talk about there's experience, where you can talk about the experience you had filing your taxes, and that's your experience. That is not the same as someone who has expertise in tax law, right? You do not want the guy who's making funny YouTube videos to be telling you about which deductions you can take and which corporate tax structure you should have. So expertise inherently involves deeper technical knowledge of a subject than someone with experience alone wouldn't have. And the easiest way to explain that is it's what versus why. A person who has experience can tell you what happened, but someone who has that deep technical expertise can tell you why that thing happened. Mm-hmm. And you can have both, and you probably will have both in some people. You'll have people who are experts who also have a lot of experience, because you kind of have to have the experience to become the expert. But there are also a lot of people who are experienced but don't necessarily have expertise. They can't tell you why something works. This was prompted by ChatGPT. There are an awful lot of folks who were doing like cryptocurrencies who are suddenly AI experts talking about ChatGPT, but they have no understanding of the language model itself. So they may have a series of prompts that work really well, but they don't know why, and they can't generate equally effective new prompts all the time because they don't know why it works.
Love it. So I mean, so I'm curious, like, what is the most important factor to consider when evaluating someone's expertise?
It depends on your level of risk, right? So if you are, curious about ChatGPT and you want to use it to, to remix the lyrics from Guns N' Roses, but about tax law, anyone will do, right? Because that is a low risk activity that, if it doesn't quite get Sweet Child of Mine's lyrics rewritten, exactly the way you had in mind, no big deal. You asked your friend who has experience with ChatGPT and they gave you some suggestions and maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. If you are about to roll out a $250,000 or $500,000 content marketing project, and you're going to be using a GPT-3 model underneath it, you probably want that to go well. You probably don't want to burn $250,000 and have a miserable failure. And it's that case where I'd say, yeah, you probably want someone with some expertise and not someone with just experience.
Love that. Okay, so I mean, if people want to learn how to distinguish between those who are genuinely knowledgeable versus those who are just just kind of pretending to be, like, how can we figure that out? How can we learn to distinguish the two?
The things that I look for, one is someone who knows what's going to go wrong, right? A true expert will understand why something is not working and can tell you in advance, here's what's going to go wrong, right? Here's the things I know you're going to screw up, right? You are going to do this wrong. Example, if you're deploying Google Analytics 4, and you're about to create a report that is looking at event counts, I can tell you right now that there are certain dimensions like the month dimension you will not be able to use, and you'll be sitting there for half an hour going, why can't I get this thing to work? Well, because there's a scoping issue, even though they're not supposed to exist in Google Analytics 4, they do. And having the technical expertise to know that just isn't going to work will set that apart, as opposed to somebody who's going, well, I made this report and it looks cool and I can do another report, but I don't know why Google would or would not allow me to do this thing. I get this from my martial arts teachers. My martial arts teachers know from expertise and experience, like, here's the things you're going to do wrong in this technique, and it's pretty clear that that's not going to work real well for you.
Love that analogy. I love that. Okay, so the last question on the topic here before we get into asking some questions from the audience is okay, so if someone wants to become wants to have the technical expertise in a particular field and they don't have the actual background in that area, I mean, how can we become that expert if we don't have that background?
You learn it. You may not necessarily get a professional certification, but you learn it. There is nothing stopping you from reading all of the papers that are out there, the ones that have been peer reviewed, the ones that are published in high quality journals, and understanding and teaching yourself how these things work. For example, I was talking about a month ago about temporal graph neural networks. This is a paper that Twitter published on how a temporal graph neural network works. Am I an expert in temporal neural networks? No, I am not. Can I read an academic paper? Yes, I can. And so having read that paper and now understand what they were talking about. At the start of the pandemic, I published my first newsletter about the pandemic in January 27th, 2020. I was reaching out to events that I was speaking at the end of January. And everyone's like, what the hell are you talking about? Nothing's going to happen. 3 months later, hey, we're all sitting in our basements. And I learned all that by following credible virologists, immunologists on Twitter, and then reading all their papers. And granted, at the time it was a lot of preprints because it was a new novel disease. But I learned how to read immunology and virology white papers and academic studies so I could figure out what the heck these people were talking about and what it meant to me. Am I a virologist? No. Am I an immunologist? No. Should I be allowed to practice medicine? No. But do I know enough to make good decisions like wearing a mask? Yes. And I can understand why I'm doing that because I've spent time learning the technical parts of the subject.
Love that. Wow, guys. If you guys are, you're killing here, Curtis. Okay, so let's go into the audience. We have a couple questions I saw that came in here. Let's get one from Jeremy. Jeremy here asks, do you think that ChatGPT integration with search engines will be a novelty to the masses and fade out over time? Not convinced the mainstream will utilize it for search. Thoughts?
It depends. There is a strong segment of the population that likes using these language models. You know, ChatGPT acquired 100 million users within, I forget, it was 2 months. It was one of the fastest pieces of adoption of technology that we've seen so far. There is an appetite for the service that it provides. Is it appropriate within the context of search? We don't know. The big issue there is latency, right? It takes longer for ChatGPT to generate an answer than traditional search experiences right now. And I think, you know, Bing and Google in particular are going to have to figure out how to balance that. But I will say, there is a large appetite for this technology by normal people, and this is the part that a lot of marketers get wrong. A lot of marketers talk to other marketers and like, oh, nobody's going to use this. But then when you go watch real people who aren't marketers using the chat type technologies, you go, huh, people really like this because it's easy. It's lazy. It requires less thinking. It requires less effort. The results are delivered to you. And if we learned anything in the past 3 decades, better, faster, and cheaper is always going to win. TikTok has taught us that, right? TikTok on its For You page is really good at just delivering content. Like, you barely have to think. You just kind of mindlessly go through TikTok and just get new stuff. And people love it because it requires less thinking. ChatGPT requires less thinking. And so I think any technology that helps people think less is going to do well.
Love that. Hopefully it answers your question there, Jeremy. We got one more from the audience before I ask my last question here. Robert Lee, from a client's perspective, how would they be able to tell the difference between an expert versus just a good salesperson when selecting an SEO?
For SEO in particular, so you're going to look at 2 things. One, look at that person's network. Who talks about them, right? You can talk all you want about yourself and say, hey, I'm awesome, I'm this, I'm that. Go Google that person and go, who else talks about this person? Who looks to that person? Whose video clips are being used on someone else's YouTube channel? Who's speaking? Who is referenced by other people speaking on stage, right? For example, I talk a lot about my friend Andy Crestanina. He's a super smart guy. He's really good at design, UX, and SEO. And he talks about me a lot. But I reference him because I know he's very good at certain things. My friend Ruth Carter is the person that I talk about with AI and law. You know, they know AI law better than anybody else I know. And so I will talk about them all the time. That's how you can tell, not by what the person says, but who's talking about them. If no one's talking about them, they're probably a legend in their own mind.
Love that, Robert. Hopefully that answers your question there. So this is the last question that I ask all my SEO professionals that come on board. If someone wants to get into the SEO game, break into the SEO industry, become an SEO professional themselves, what would be that one piece of advice that you would give them?
Gosh, that's hard to tell now because the industry is about to go through massive convulsions with what large language models are about to do to search. So the thing that I would say you need to know and understand is how to parse out consumer intent, how to understand what someone is thinking, right? When you're creating content for search specifically, you are trying to anticipate what that person wants, what their intent is, what their need is from a human perspective, because ultimately we know things like bounce rate, pogo sticking and stuff. We know that those behavioral signals are incorporated into Google in particular in their search algorithm. And we know that we have some level of control over that by making our content richer, right? By making content that people want to consume. And one of the greatest things that I did with my newsletters, I started offering it in video, audio, and text. And it keeps people on page a really long time because they're sitting there consuming the content. You've got to understand audience intent. And this is not something that an SEO tool is going to do for you because it requires you to do that mysterious, arcane, almost lost technique of talking to people. Saying, like, when you come to my site, what is it that you want to do, right? And using market research tools like 4Q and Qualtrics and stuff to say, what did you come here to do today? And were you able to do it? I think if there was a field that SEO folks could really benefit from learning, it would actually be UX stuff. Like, how do we know what someone's thinking? And then how do we deliver to them the best experience that's matching what their intent is?
Man, you killed it today, Chris. Thank you so much. So that actually, I mean, this is one last thing I also ask. If anyone, if you have a special talent, if you want to play a musical instrument live for all of us, I mean, the stage is yours. Other than that, I mean, how can people get a hold of you? And yes, the stage is yours.
No, I'm not going to play a musical instrument because that's one of the many things I'm really bad at. You can get a hold of me. The easiest way to get a hold of me is go to trustinsights.ai. That is the company website and things. And in particular, if you have questions that you want to ask that we didn't have time to cover today, that's the best place to do it. I publish a newsletter on Sundays for myself. I publish the company newsletter on Wednesdays. A lot of my video content during the week is answering other people's questions. My show is literally titled "You Ask, I Answer." So if there's questions that we didn't get to or a subject that you want to dig more into, pop on by and ask. At the very worst, I'm going to say, I have no idea, and I'm going to refer you to somebody who does.
Love that. Okay, so I'm curious. I know you answer questions, like you record yourself and saying you ask, and you answer. Where do we submit those questions? Because I would love to submit sometime.
Hit reply on the newsletter. I actually read the replies.
All right.
DM me on Twitter, on Instagram. I'm pretty much at CS Penn on every channel. Leave a comment on the YouTube video. I use Agorapulse, so I have this whole social inbox filled with all these different channels. But yeah, just hit reply.
Love it. Jeremy says mega show today. Wow. All right, everyone, let's give a round of applause for Chris. Chris, thank you so much. Can you hold on for just one quick second while I sign off? Just hold on one quick second. All right, guys, that concludes another episode of the SEO Video Show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I just need about 5 more subscribers to hit that 5,000 mark, so be sure to do that. Thank you so much, and I will see you next week. Peace out.
Thank you for watching. Hope you come back next week. Make sure to subscribe. You don't want to miss a thing. Hope you learn something new, cause the vibe is incredible. From the special SEO professionals, SEO video show. Let's work. Want to see you be an SEO expert. Paul Andre DeVera helping you step it up. No delay right now. Time to level up. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Woo!